Explained by the Billy Meier contacts. Mysteries, myths, legends, conspiracy theories, historical inaccuracies, and more. Compiled by David Chance, revised October 18, 2023.
Sodom and Gomorrah. See also extraterrestrials, Giza intelligences, the Ba'ath. Contact Report 215.
What was it with Sodom and Gomorrah? What actually happened there? How were these two cities destroyed?
Several factors are to be mentioned. On the one hand, a meteorite fell to the earth and exploded high over the area of the two cities, which would now actually be designated as larger villages. This led to devastating destruction of both cities, triggering a massive earthquake, by which the earth was torn open, like in Petra, and by underground volcanic activity. Small and larger chunks of sulfur were flung high and across the country, which also naturally caused much disaster, and by this, as also by the exploding meteorite, many human beings were killed. The remaining part of the total destruction was caused by the megalomaniac and crazy god of the Hebrews, an extraterrestrial who had his headquarters deep under the Pyramid of Giza. His punishment for the disobedience of the population of Sodom and Gomorrah against his commands was that he let two small atom bombs ignite over the two cities, which finally leveled everything to the ground, killing all humans and animals.
Contact Report 230.
Hence the question was asked how the Dead Sea came into being, on whose shores the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah were located. And it was asked where the volcano had been, and why no ruins of the two cities have been found so far, and so on.
However, in order to explain the events of the volcanism and the invisible ruins of Sodom and Gomorrah in more detail, the following shall be said: the events with the meteorite, the ignition of the two small nuclear bombs of the irrational god, as well as the volcanic eruption and the earthquake took place within a few hours and thus in rapid succession. There were two earthquakes, the first of which had a magnitude of 6.3 according to the terrestrial Richter scale, and the second a magnitude of 8.6, which resulted in devastating consequences. Since the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah were built on very unstable and loose ground in the near shore area of the Dead Sea, both cities slipped due to a huge landslide into the Dead Sea and sank on its bottom. The landslide was caused by an enormous water pressure from the ground, from which water was pressed up, causing the layers of the ground to liquefy and slide. From the beginning of the landslide to its end, and until everything disappeared in the Dead Sea, a time of just 27 minutes passed. This is the reason why practically no ruins of the cities can be found in the shore areas of the Salt Lake. Only scattered ruins, which were located outside the cities, remained and were buried under sand and dust. The fire, however, which rained from the sky before the two cities were completely destroyed and sank into the Dead Sea, consisted of glowing chunks of sulfur and glowing soil, whereby everything was flung up from within the ground by enormous volcanisms and rained down on the cities. This volcanism, however, was not of the usual kind as it appears with normal volcanoes, because it was truthfully a methane volcanism, which means that methane gases ignited inside the earth in large chambers. 536. This led to tremendous explosions, which tore open the ground in several places, eventually forming smaller craters from which the sulfur chunks and the glowing earth were ejected, thereby causing, so to speak, fire to rain from the sky.
Contact Report 248.
This is regulated with us by a law, and indeed, in the way that wives and descendants resulting from the marriage bond, in each case, always bear the surname of the husband, respectively the father. This is regulated in such a way because solely through this, confusions in the degree of kinship, as well as in the family tree, can be avoided. Even at very early times, our ancestors made the discovery that there were incredible confusions when female spouses retained their premarital surnames or even transferred them to their descendants. From this, there arose much disaster and confusion, from which incest emerged on a massive scale, as this happened in Sodom and Gomorrah with the ancient Jews, when the two cities degenerated into pure herds of incest.
Did your ancestors have something to do with Sodom and Gomorrah?
Not the ancestors of our own lineage, but those of diverging lineages, for these interfered in the affairs of the ancient Jews, who degenerated, for example, in Sodom and Gomorrah, into wide-scale incest, for which they were punished with a total annihilation by nuclear fire, etc., by the one who was angry about these unbelievable activities.
Contact Report 829.
The word sodomy was changed after the word Sodom, as it applies in the Book of Lies in the Bible, Book of Lies according to the alleged Jesus Christ, with regard to the city of Sodom, whose inhabitants are said to have formed the Sodom of sin, so to speak, which was in reality destroyed by a meteorite, from which the story was then made that God had destroyed it by fire and brimstone.
Contact Report 832.
This, as well as the inhabitants of the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, which were utterly annihilated by a fiery micrometeorite shower and subsequent air explosion, vitrifying the Earth's surface and forming a mushroom cloud more than 50% more powerful than the mushroom clouds in Hiroshima and Nagasaki that went up in 1945, when the Americans criminally killed hundreds of thousands of innocent human beings with their atomic bombing.